Alright guys, I just left the JP court. Today is the 29th of, I believe we're in May, right? May 29th? Yeah, May 29th. On the 29th day of May 2025 came to be heard the above and foregoing motion to dismiss the attorney of the state who moved the court to dismiss this case, JP Court. The reason was prosecutorial discretion. Now, understand something, guys. I had seen somebody that I know for years. She's an actual big-time trial lawyer. But they don't know her in this JP court because, you know, she does little laws too, you know, like a little Uber type law service where she just goes to court where clients are out of state and goes to court where they want her to say something. She had a little bit of business in this court for like 15 minutes. She's going to be paid $3,000 or $350, $450, whatever her fee is for that Uber legal service, okay? But she was in the courtroom and I was looking at her thinking, damn, man, now I know her, but it wasn't registered where I know her from until she came close by and she hit me with her folder. She said, what are you doing in here? Because I've known her for a while, you know. So I took all my motions and everything outside in the hallway and let her read it. Okay, the judge was being a real asshole. I was watching the judge the whole time. And, you know, because I had already talked to her mentor, okay, a big-time civil rights attorney, and he was telling me, you know, what I was planning on telling the judge. He said, you might win the case, man, but they're going to put you in jail for contempt. I'm coming with my popcorn just so I can watch the show. Because I do get really pissed off and, you know, I let it all come on out. And so while she was in there, she's like, man, you know, I don't really want him to piss them off. So she asked me for a favor if I wanted her to do it as a favor to argue that motion for me. She was very much unprepared. And she didn't have the laws. I had all the laws and she was reading what I had there, but she's not going to argue what I had there without researching it and making sure it's correct for herself. You understand? I'm not a lawyer, she is, but she told me she thought she might have to revisit it at a later date, you know, but there's just, you know, she wanted to research. So when we was in court, the first thing she did, she got up there, she said, Your Honor, I've known Mr. Kennedy. I'm standing in for him. He wrote his motion to dismiss pro se. I'm not really familiar with it right now, but I've known Mr. Kennedy for several years, and he does talk loud. I mean, it's his natural voice, and you know. And the judge said, "Lady, we're not going to argue the facts of the case. We're going to argue only legal. If you have something legal to add, you can add. If you don't, you're done." And I said, "Your Honor," because I was holding like 8 to 10 case laws that are identical to the case that I have been charged with. I mean, they're pretty much identical to it. I was holding those in my hand. I said, Your Honor, can I add something? The judge said, no. You've hired, you're a lawyer. You just sit there and keep your mouth shut. Well, I hadn't hired a lawyer. She was just there doing it as a favor, okay? I hadn't hired a lawyer. She was doing it as a favor. But the judge said, your motion is denied. And I had the case law, 2 of them written in that motion. That motion, I actually plagiarized the majority of it from C.J. Grisham, civil rights attorney C.J. Grisham. I took it from his document where he's got open cases in court, and I used his motion, but I also put in there exactly what took place that day so they would understand that I also have a defense under state law. Under state law, the statute 42.01, disorderly conduct, if you have been provoked, it is a legitimate defense to prosecution. I had a 2-part motion. But the lawyer was not prepared. She only had 5 minutes to look at it before she tried to argue it. So she didn't realize it was actually a 2-part motion. One, showing that I'm fully protected from profanity under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and the second part was showing that I fully was provoked and had a full legitimate defense to prosecution, okay? But the judge hadn't even read it yet, okay? I filed that motion on February the 6th. The motion hearing was on March 27th, okay? And the judge looked and he seen right there where right up front, the First Amendment, you know, because it's C.J. Grisham's motion that I actually stole, and then put the laws in there, and he seen the First Amendment. Me didn't even read the whole motion. He said, First Amendment, no, this is not protected under the First Amendment. I'm denying your motion. Okay, so that night I went to Ellen's house, the lawyer, and fully anticipating the jury trial, I gave her $3,000 and signed a contract saying that we're gonna, if she can get it dismissed, if whatever happens, if it goes to jury trial, no matter what happens, the fee is a flat fee. It's $3,000. If she wins in 5 minutes, or if it takes her 10 years, it's still just $3,000. And to me, to take a case to jury trial for $3,000 is a good deal. I mean, I don't think she would offer that to anybody else. It's because we are friends that she offered that to me. But it turned out, because when we walked out in the hallway and that lawyer was giving her information to the prosecutor, I'm telling you, his prosecutor discretion that he used is because I told him at the window, I said, hey man, I want to give you something. I said, what I got here, I got several case laws that are identical to the case in which I'm charged with right here. I slid it underneath the window. I said, this is nothing more than official oppression by malicious prosecution. If you violate what is clearly established case law, you will be held personally accountable in your individual capacity. And I did it with authority, just like I am now. Okay? The lawyer, she just looked up at me and grinned like, man, you better leave these people alone. She called him the next day. She called him yesterday and told him that she wanted the motion for discovery that I asked for, because they wanted me to argue that in court too. But as soon as he stood up for me, he looked at her, he said, you ain't got to argue the motion, I'll send you what you need. He was going to send her just what he wanted to send her. So when I went and seen her that night, she was looking at all my motion to discovery. She's listening to everything what me and my wife were telling her, and it turned out everything I had on there is relevant to the case. Okay, and she said, yeah, they can deny this right here, but now because they put this in the police report, I can argue this right here, and they're going to have to give it to me, okay? Things like, there was a lot, okay? I mean, I asked for a lot just for a $393 fine case, okay? I'll ask for everything, I mean everything, which they was wanting to deny until I hired, or I didn't hire yet. She stood in as a friend, and then that DA didn't no longer want to argue the motion for discovery. He didn't want to argue that no more. But yeah, when we went up there, when she first went up there, they said we got two motions. We got the motion to dismiss, and we got the motion for discovery. And the motion for dismiss, the judge denied it right away. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment. You're not protected under the First Amendment. By God, I am. Okay? I am. And I gave that prosecutor cases all having to do with what I was arrested for, and every one of them was sued and lost. Okay? Clear violation of my First Amendment right, which provoked me by a police officer, so I cussed out that police officer, I redressed that police officer, and again, if you are a college student, graduate, cupcake that wants to be a communist, that thinks your feelings is more important than rights, well, you are very much wrong. Y'all illegally and unlawfully called the police and had them illegally and unlawfully arrest me, and they told me the same thing you did. That's what provoked me, because when you told me, I told you call the police. I've committed no crime. It is not a crime for me to talk in my normal tone of voice. So the police gonna come, sir. If you don't lower your voice talking to me, I'm going to arrest you. Whoa. You know what? That respect is not free. You have to earn that. And what you just did, you earned the hate, not the respect. Okay? So it came out. Because that police officer should have said, okay, listen, y'all are going to the exam room. Y'all are back here already. No big deal. You're out of public. I don't need to escalate this. You're already calm, because I had walked out of a counselor's office where we had been talking for about 5 minutes to be greeted by this here police officer. Okay? And if you listen to the phone call, what I titled U10B urology called out their minds. If you listen to the entire phone call, I was arrested on October the 4th. The phone call came in on October the 10th, and you'll hear the counselor say, 1, I used no profanity, and 2, there was no disorderly, and 3, she had the situation under control. Okay? But at any rate, guys, here is the actual dismissal from the JP court. Signed, it's got the judge's stamp on it by the ADA for prosecutorial discretion. Okay? But that, guys, I have won the case. It cost me $3,000 not to get it on my record, but I was fully anticipating the jury trial the way that judge was acting yesterday. But I believe what I told that prosecutor in the presence of the attorney put the fear of God in him, because he went and he looked at the case laws that I had, and he said, oh my God, Mr. Kennedy done his homework. I don't want to be held personally accountable for malicious prosecution, so I'm going to dismiss this crap. Because if he looks at the evidence, he's going to know for sure that jury trial is a slam dunk. And really, I probably should tell him, man, I don't want to dismiss. I want my jury trial, motherfucker. I want my dang court. But I'll leave it like this because I paid for the dang court. But then, you know, I'm telling you, it was a slam dunk. At any rate, guys, I'm out. Y'all have a great day.